My friends, there comes a quiet hour before the world fully wakes, when the light is still soft and the air holds its breath. In that moment you are offered a decision, not wrapped in ceremony, not announced with trumpets, but whispered gently to your soul. Will you choose hope today? Hope is not simply something that visits you. It is not a guest waiting politely at your door. Hope is a choice, an act of courage. It is the decision to rise even when yesterday felt heavy. It is the decision to believe in the unseen, to trust in the power living inside you, to step forward even when the path is covered in shadows. Some mornings hope will feel like a flame, bright, warm, ready to guide you. Other mornings it will feel like a spark barely hanging on. But remember this, even the smallest spark can start a fire. Even the quietest belief can change the direction of your life. You choose hope every time you speak kindly to yourself. You choose hope every time you take one more step. You choose hope every time you refuse to let fear decide your future. And each choice, no matter how small, strengthens your spirit, shapes your destiny, and lights the way for others who have forgotten what light feels like. So, rise, gently, bravely, intentionally. Choose hope not because life is easy, but because you are strong. Choose hope not because you know exactly what comes next, but because you trust yourself enough to face it. Every morning is a new invitation. Every sunrise is a reminder. You are still becoming, still growing, still capable of choosing the life you want, and it all begins with hope. Hope doesn't fall from the sky. You choose it. Each day, you decide to lean toward light instead of darkness. There is a tenderness in the idea that hope is something you choose, not something handed to you. Many people spend their days waiting for hope to appear fully formed, like a miracle arriving on their doorstep. But hope is not a guest that strolls in uninvited. It is a decision you make before the world has shown you its proof. It is the quiet moment when you sit with yourself and decide that your spirit, though tested, though tired, still deserves a chance to rise. Choosing hope is choosing to give yourself permission to believe in better days, even while standing in the middle of difficult ones. It is an intimate agreement between your present self and your future self, a promise that you will not let the weight of the world silence your inner voice. This conscious decision does not come wrapped in clarity. Often, hope asks to be chosen when you feel least equipped to choose it. You may wake up with the heaviness of yesterday's battles still clinging to your chest. You may open your eyes to the same problems, the same disappointments, the same uncertain future. And yet, in that very moment, life presents you with a choice, to sink deeper into the difficulty, or to rise slightly above it by shifting the way you think. Hope begins in that whisper of a choice. It happens internally first, long before anything external changes. When you choose hope, you are adjusting the lens through which you see the world. You are not erasing your challenges. You are deciding not to let them define the entire landscape. Choosing hope means accepting that you will not always feel strong, and that strength is not a requirement for hope to exist. Many mornings, the best you can offer is a small nod toward possibility, and that is enough. Hope grows from willingness, not perfection. It is a decision made by real people living real lives, navigating real struggles. Making the choice does not mean you never doubt, never fear, never break down. It means that despite all those things, you still make space in your heart for the chance that life can be good. Hope blooms from the smallest openings. One shift in your thinking, one moment of self. Kindness, one breath where you refuse to give up. That is how hope begins to take root. There is also power in recognizing that hope is not passive. Hope is not just the desire for something better. It is the decision to believe that something better is possible. It is active, intentional, and often uncomfortable. When you choose hope, you are not ignoring reality. You are refusing to let reality limit you. You are choosing to see beyond what is in front of you, to trust that your story does not end where your hardships begin. This decision invites your mind to reopen, your heart to soften, and your spirit to stretch toward the light. In making this choice, you awaken the part of yourself that remembers your worth, your resilience, and your ability to rise through moments that once would have broken you. Hope must be chosen repeatedly, not once and forever. It is a daily decision, a daily discipline, a daily practice. Some days you will choose it with confidence. Other days you will choose it with trembling hands. But what matters is that you keep choosing. Your mind will sometimes resist it. Your past may argue against it. Your fears may insist that hope is foolish. But the act of choosing hope anyway rewires your inner world. Every day you make that choice, even in the smallest way, you strengthen your capacity for joy, for faith, for resilience. You remind yourself that you still have agency, even when circumstances feel overwhelming. And this reminder is what allows you to move forward, one small step at a time. Ultimately, the decision to choose hope is a declaration of inner freedom. It means you refuse to be ruled by despair. It means you are reclaiming your power from the forces, internal and external, that try to diminish you. Hope is the moment you stand up for yourself when no one else is around to witness it. It is the courage to nurture your dreams even in seasons where they do not seem to grow. And it is the understanding that every new morning is an invitation to begin again, no matter how many times life has pressed you down. When you choose hope consciously, you are choosing to believe in your own becoming. You are choosing to honor the possibility that your story is still unfolding, still expanding, still capable of beauty, and that choice, subtle, quiet, and deeply human, is where transformation truly begins. There is a particular kind of bravery that lives inside the act of choosing hope. It is not the loud, heroic courage celebrated in stories or carved into monuments. It is quieter, softer, often unseen by the world. This courage rises in the moments when you are trembling, when you feel fragile, when you are unsure of what tomorrow will bring. To choose hope in such moments is to stand in defiance of your doubts. It is to rise even when the voice inside you whispers that staying down would be easier. True courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward while fear walks beside you. And when you choose hope, you are choosing to trust that the path ahead will reveal itself, step by step, even if you can't yet see the ground beneath your feet. Hope asks you to walk into uncertainty with an open heart. It demands the courage to believe in something better without any guarantee that it will come quickly or easily. This is where many people hesitate, because hope is a risk. It asks you to invest in the unseen. It asks you to bet on yourself when you have been disappointed before. It asks you to believe in healing when wounds still sting, to believe in possibility when the past is full of closed doors. And yet, this is precisely what gives hope its power. It stretches you. It asks you to step beyond the borders of what you already know. When you choose hope, you are choosing to expand your life beyond the familiar, into the territory where growth happens. There is a courage that comes from refusing to let your circumstances tell the whole story. It takes strength to say, "This is where I am, but not where I will stay." It takes courage to rewrite the narrative life has handed you. Hope does not deny pain, it challenges you to rise above it. It requires the bravery to believe that you are more than the sum of your struggles, more than your worst days, more than the mistakes that haunt you. Every time you choose hope, you are practicing the art of resilience. You are reminding yourself that you are capable of rebuilding, of renewing, of recreating the path you walk. Even when the world feels heavy, choosing hope is an act of liberation. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It tells you that staying where you are is safer than moving forward. It convinces you that trying again is foolish, that dreaming is reckless, that opening your heart invites disappointment. But courage listens to a different voice. Courage hears the fear, acknowledges it, and still chooses to rise. It is the gentle insistence that life has more to offer than the moment you are standing in. Hope is the bridge between your fear and your future. Choosing it means placing your trust in the possibility of better days, even when fear is loud and the future is quiet. And each time you choose that bridge, you strengthen it. Hope also requires the courage to be vulnerable. To hope is to expose your heart. It is to admit that you want something deeply, that you believe you deserve something more, that you are willing to reach for what you cannot yet hold. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, but it is one of the strongest expressions of courage. It means you are willing to risk your heart for the sake of growth, meaning, and purpose. You allow yourself to feel, to want, to strive, and in doing so, you step closer to becoming the person you are meant to be. Vulnerability and hope walk hand in hand, for you cannot choose one without embracing the other. Ultimately, the courage required to choose hope is a commitment to yourself. It means that even when life feels uncertain, you do not abandon your belief in who you are becoming. Courage does not always look like bold moves or dramatic transformations. Sometimes it looks like waking up and trying again. Sometimes it looks like taking one small step when the world feels too big. Sometimes it looks like allowing yourself to believe that joy is still possible. Hope is the quiet courage that rebuilds your spirit from the inside out. It is the bravery to lift your face toward the unknown, whisper to yourself that you can endure, and take the next step anyway. And each time you choose hope, that courage grows stronger within you. There is a gentle truth often forgotten in the rush of daily life. Transformation rarely begins with something grand. It begins with a spark, small, easy to overlook, fragile in its early glow. Too many people wait for life to hand them a fire, a breakthrough, a miracle so large that it forces change. But real change begins quietly. It begins the moment you decide to think one thought differently, to take one step you avoided yesterday, to whisper one word of kindness to yourself when you could have chosen criticism. These sparks may seem insignificant, but inside them lives the potential for a life reshaped. Every great flame begins with a breath of belief, a flicker of hope, a single moment where you refuse to stay where you once stood. It is often the smallest acts that carry the greatest power, waking up one morning and deciding to try again, even when you're tired. Choosing to speak gently to yourself when your inner voice wants to be harsh. Opening your heart to the possibility of healing, even after being wounded. These moments feel small, but they create ripples that expand through your life. A single spark can ignite a shift in perspective, and once your perspective begins to change, your entire reality follows. When you hold onto that spark, you begin to realize that you do not need giant leaps to grow. You need consistency, intention, and a willingness to honor small beginnings. There is strength in recognizing that progress does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like choosing to get out of bed on a difficult morning. Sometimes it looks like forgiving yourself for yesterday's failures. Sometimes it looks like giving yourself permission to breathe deeply when anxiety tries to tighten around you. People often dismiss these moments because they are quiet, but quiet moments shape the soul. They are the foundations on which courage is built. When you allow yourself to celebrate these small sparks of effort, you begin to see that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory, and small victories are the ones that sustain you when the journey grows long. A spark has the ability to grow only if you protect it. Just as a flame needs shelter from the wind, your hopes need protection from negativity, especially the negativity you direct inward. It takes awareness to recognize when you are extinguishing your own spark with doubt, fear, or harsh self-judgment. But once you learn to safeguard that spark, even from yourself, it begins to grow. Protecting your spark means choosing environments, people, and habits that nourish your well-being. It means being mindful of the voices you allow into your mind and the thoughts you entertain. When you nurture the spark instead of suffocating it, you create space for it to become something powerful. There is a beautiful truth in the idea that a spark does not ask for perfect conditions to exist. Sparks appear even in dark seasons, even in broken places, even in the middle of uncertainty. They show up in moments when you think you have nothing left to give. A sudden feeling of possibility, a small burst of gratitude, a moment of clarity that reminds you life can still shift. These sparks come as reminders that your story is not finished, that life is still moving within you, urging you forward, encouraging you to believe that something greater waits on the other side of patience and persistence. You don't need to see the entire path to trust the spark. You just need to honor the moment it arrives. When you allow small sparks to guide you, you begin to understand that transformation is not a single event. It is a series of little decisions stitched together over time. A spark becomes a flame becomes a fire, and a fire becomes the force that lights your way through seasons that once felt impossible. The spark you choose to follow today may seem tiny, but it carries within it the beginning of something far larger than you can imagine. Every great change in your life will begin with one small, humble spark, one moment where you choose to believe that better is possible. And when you honor that spark, you open the door for everything that comes next. Hope is not something you simply feel. It is something you practice. It is not sustained by wishing or waiting, but by doing, by placing one step after another, even when the path is uneven. Action is the nourishment that keeps hope alive. Without movement, hope becomes a thought that drifts instead of a force that shapes. Every meaningful change in your life begins with a moment when thought transforms into choice, and choice transforms into action. You may not always feel ready, you may not always feel strong, but hope asks you to move anyway. It asks you to take the smallest step forward, trusting that motion itself awakens possibility. There is a misconception that you must feel hopeful before you can act, but often it works the other way around. Sometimes action creates hope. Sometimes doing one productive thing, no matter how small, opens a crack where light can enter. When you take a step toward what you desire, you begin to see evidence that you are not stuck, that your life is still responsive to your efforts. It might be a small shift, a slight improvement, a quiet sign that your actions matter. And those signs reinforce your belief in yourself. Forward motion, even if slow, reminds you that you control more than you realize. Hope grows deeper when you see that your choices have power. Action also keeps your mind from wandering into the territory of fear and overthinking. When you stand still too long, your worries multiply. You begin to imagine every possible failure, every possible obstacle, every worst-case scenario. But when you move, even in the smallest way, you interrupt that spiral. You redirect your energy from fear to progress. Movement creates momentum, and momentum strengthens hope. It gives your mind something productive to hold on to. It replaces helplessness with intention. It transforms what feels impossible into something manageable. And with each action, no matter how humble, you build a bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Consistency matters more than intensity. You do not need to take giant leaps every day. You only need to show up for yourself in ways that honor your growth. A 5-minute effort repeated daily is more powerful than an hour of effort followed by a week of discouragement. Hope is a rhythm, not a rush. It is kept alive by patterns, by habits, by gentle persistence. Each small action tells your mind, I am still trying. It tells your heart, I have not given up. And it tells your spirit, I am worthy of progress. When you commit to consistent action, even in small doses, hope becomes not an emotion you chase, but a practice you embody. Taking action does not mean you dismiss your fears or pretend your struggles don't exist. It means you choose to move alongside them. It means you acknowledge your doubts but refuse to let them anchor you. Action is not the absence of emotion. It is the expression of determination. It is the belief that your efforts matter, even when the results are not immediate. And that belief reinforces your inner strength. When you act despite uncertainty, you build self-trust. When you act despite discomfort, you build resilience. When you act despite difficulty, you build a foundation sturdy enough to hold your dreams. In this way, action becomes a form of hope you can touch. Over time, your actions become the story you tell yourself about who you are. Each step forward becomes proof that you are capable. Each moment of persistence becomes evidence that you are evolving. And as this story grows stronger within you, hope becomes less fragile. It becomes confident. It becomes rooted. You begin to understand that hope is not a wish. It is a responsibility you carry with your whole being. It is a choice you honor through your actions, your habits, your courage, and your willingness to keep moving. When you take action, you breathe life into hope. And in return, hope expands inside you, giving you strength enough for the next step. There is a quiet power in the way you speak to yourself. Many people forget that their inner voice becomes the foundation on which hope either grows or collapses. If that voice is harsh, unforgiving, or cruel, hope will struggle to survive. But when you learn to speak to yourself with gentleness, with patience, with understanding, you create soil soft enough for hope to take root. Self-compassion is not about denying your flaws or pretending you are perfect. It is about treating yourself with the same mercy you offer others. When you extend grace inward, you strengthen the part of you that dares to begin again. You allow your heart to breathe. You give your spirit room to rise. Self-compassion asks you to release the unrealistic demands you place on yourself. It invites you to acknowledge that you are human, that mistakes are part of growth, and that imperfection does not make you unworthy. Too often, people think that being hard on themselves will push them toward success, but harshness rarely builds anything lasting. Criticism wounds, self-blame weakens. When you talk to yourself as though you are unworthy, hope dims. But when you speak kindly, hope grows stronger because it feels safe to exist within you. Compassion is a form of emotional nourishment. It tells your heart, you deserve another chance, you deserve healing, you deserve support, even from yourself. There are moments when self-compassion is the only thing that keeps you moving. When the world feels heavy and your confidence disappears, compassion becomes the soft place where you can rest without feeling like you have failed. It becomes the reminder that you can be both a work in progress and worthy of love. In those moments, hope thrives not because life is easy, but because you refuse to abandon yourself. When you treat yourself with kindness, you strengthen your resilience. You learn to bend without breaking, and you discover that hope is not fragile. It simply needs tenderness to flourish. Self-compassion also asks you to acknowledge your accomplishments, no matter how small. It encourages you to celebrate the steps you've taken rather than punishing yourself for the steps you haven't. Hope expands when you recognize your efforts. It expands when you honor your growth. Every time you say, "I'm proud of myself for trying," you reinforce the belief that you are capable of becoming something greater. Every time you forgive yourself for falling short, you open the door to try again. People often look for hope in big victories, but true hope is strengthened in moments when you choose to see your own value, even in the midst of struggle. There is a healing that comes from learning to be gentle with yourself while still holding space for improvement. Self-compassion is not an excuse to stop growing. It is the fuel that helps you grow in healthier, more sustainable ways. When you are kind to yourself, you create an environment where honest reflection can happen without shame. You can learn from your mistakes instead of being crushed by them. You can acknowledge your weaknesses without losing your confidence. This balanced honesty strengthens hope because it teaches you that you are capable of evolving without punishing yourself along the way. It teaches you that hope is not about perfection. It is about willingness. Ultimately, self-compassion strengthens hope because it anchors you in self-worth. Hope cannot survive in a heart that believes it is undeserving. But when you treat yourself with care, you affirm your right to dream, your right to grow, your right to rise. You remind yourself that you are allowed to take up space, allowed to heal, allowed to change your story. And when you believe you are worthy of better days, hope becomes not just a desire but a certainty. It becomes the steady rhythm guiding you forward. Self-compassion is the quiet force that keeps hope alive, even on the days when everything else feels uncertain. There is a profound truth many people never realize. The way you choose to live your life sends ripples far beyond your own experiences. Hope, when chosen intentionally, becomes a quiet light that others notice, even when you believe no one is watching. You may think your struggles are invisible, your progress insignificant, your efforts unnoticed. But someone, somewhere, is paying attention. Someone sees the way you rise after being pushed down. Someone feels the quiet strength in your voice when you speak gently in moments of pressure. Someone is inspired simply by the fact that you refuse to stop trying. Your choice to hope becomes a silent permission slip for others to believe that they can rise too. People often underestimate the impact of their courage. They believe that inspiration requires grand gestures or flawless victories. But the truth is far simpler. People are moved by authenticity. They are moved by perseverance. They are moved by the everyday moments when someone chooses hope despite uncertainty. When you continue forward in the middle of your own storms, you show others that storms do not have the final say. When you choose to smile again after heartbreak, someone else learns that joy can return. When you dare to speak kindly to yourself in a world that can be harsh, someone else learns that self-compassion is not weakness. It is strength. Your hope becomes a lantern in a world full of dim places. There are people who may never tell you that your journey inspired them, but they carry a piece of your courage within them. Sometimes your presence alone becomes a reminder of what is possible. The way you handle your challenges with grace may encourage someone who is afraid to face their own. The patience you show yourself may teach someone else how to soften toward their own heart. Your resilience may be the proof someone needs to believe that healing is not just an idea. It is real. You never truly know who is watching, who is learning, who is healing because you chose hope instead of despair. Your smallest brave moments can become someone else's turning point. Choosing hope is not only a gift to yourself, it is an act of service to the world. When you stand back up after life has knocked you down, you show others that they too can rise. When you refuse to let fear dictate your decisions, you help someone else consider the possibility of courage. When you move gently through your pain instead of hiding from it, you help others understand that strength and softness can coexist. You may not see the full extent of your influence, but your hope travels farther than you imagine. It touches lives you will never meet. It restores spirits you will never know. It opens doors for people who needed someone, anyone, to walk ahead with light. Inspiration is not about perfection. It is about honesty. When you allow yourself to be seen not only in strength, but also in vulnerability, you give others a realistic image of hope. They see that hope is not reserved for the unbroken. They see that it is not limited to people with easy lives. They see that hope belongs to anyone willing to choose it, especially those who have been through darkness. Your cracks, your struggles, your triumphs, your quiet determination all become part of the story that reassures others. If they can, maybe I can too. In this way, your choice to hope becomes a bridge connecting your heart to the hearts of others. Ultimately, your life becomes a testament to the power of small choices. The simple act of choosing hope each morning, no matter how tired you are, no matter how uncertain the day feels, becomes a beacon. You may not always feel like a source of inspiration, but every time you choose to rise, you light a path for someone else. Every time you move forward, you soften the fear in another person's heart. Every time you choose to believe in better days, you show others that belief is possible. Your hope becomes a quiet revolution, touching lives beyond your own. And through your choices, you remind the world that hope is not just an emotion. It is a powerful force that multiplies when shared. And so, as you step into the next moment of your life, into the next breath, the next choice, the next sunrise, remember this simple truth. Hope is not something you wait for. It is something you cultivate. It is something you choose. No matter how heavy the night has been, no matter how tangled the journey feels, every morning arrives with an invitation to begin again. You are not defined by the darkness you've walked through. You are shaped by the light you continue to reach for. Carry hope gently, but carry it with certainty. Let it be the whisper that steadies you when life trembles. Let it be the fire that warms you when fear grows cold around your edges. Let it be the quiet force that lifts your chin, straightens your back, and reminds you that you are worthy of better days, worthy of joy, worthy of healing, worthy of rising. Walk forward knowing that your choice to hope is a kind of courage, a kind of strength, a kind of quiet rebellion against everything that tried to break you. And each time you choose it, you choose yourself. You choose your growth. You choose your future. So today and tomorrow and the countless mornings yet to come, choose hope. Not because the world is perfect, but because you are powerful. Not because everything is certain, but because your spirit is resilient. Not because life guarantees ease, but because your heart still knows how to rise. And rise you will, again and again, as long as you choose hope.